Year.
Oh yeah, Happy New Year.
I think we did that.
Yeah. Well, you sent me a message, and then I sent you a message in response, which is how messages work.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, basically, right. These are my emergency glasses.
Right.
Where, so basically, you see the little knoblets on the side there.
Knoblets.
Yeah. Just pop those on, and then just twiddle the knoblets.
Ah, you bugger. Goddamn astigmatism. No, I've overtuned it.
How fucking weird is that? I mean, they're great for non-specific.
That's dead clever.
It's really
fucking useless for me.
Yeah.
Because I've astigmatism, so
yeah.
I'm trying to tune them in different directions.
Right.
One's getting better, one's getting worse, and then it goes the other way.
Yeah, right. I did it the other day, right? I was driving home from. I dropped Lou at the pub. I nearly ran over a hedgehog. Me and Finn were in the car, and I nearly ran over a hedgehog, and I swerved to avoid it. And nearly hit another car on the other side of the road because I just panicked. You know, it's the vegetarian in me. I'd lose my card, Pete. I'd lose my card. So
lose your vegan powers.
I'd lose my vegan powers. So then I turned round and I'd forgot my glasses. That's a key part of the story.
Yeah.
I forgot my glasses. So I turned round at the roundabout at the other end of Hilton Road and put the emergency glasses on, and then.
Sat there and twiddled yourself to
basically, yeah, put them on, and I drove back to make sure it was all right because I was going to park up and try and get it off the road and whatever. Yeah. It was a bin bag, wasn't it? So
nearly killed you and your son over a bin bag.
Yes, and hello and welcome to episode 12 of the Taste Funny podcast.
Taste Funny.
It's a pleasure to have you here. This is the podcast in which myself, Joe McLaughlin,
and myself, Peter McHugh,
discuss an album from each other's record collection. It's good to see you, Pete.
It's good to see you too, Joe. It's been a little while.
It has been a while. Sorry we're a bit late with this one, everyone. Just over the festive period, we get busy.
We had a break.
We had a festive break. We had some time off for Christmas.
For the holiday season.
Yeah, just got shit to do. I can't spend all my time with this guy.
Got to eat turkey and drink alcohol. It's the deal, right?
I didn't eat any turkey.
No, you didn't. Vegetarians.
Yeah, I had a lovely vegan Wellington, which sounds like a
roast.
It was a shoe filled with nuts. It's really nice. I really liked it. Thanks for joining us again. I've forgotten how we do this.
I believe this is the up top ramble.
This is the bit where we talk at the beginning. So what was I going to tell you about? Oh, we've got a Twitter account now.
Yeah.
Which is @TastesFunnyPod, if anyone wants to follow us on there. But I haven't followed anyone. I accidentally, last night, I was just scrolling through Twitter, and I went on and I followed Sadiq Khan, the London mayor. Just because he came up as a person that I wanted, but
you need to follow the mayor of Sheffield as well.
Oh, is it Magic Majid? Yeah. I like him a lot.
What a man!
I don't think I follow him on Twitter, but yeah.
You
but
should.
I went on and followed him, and then realised I was logged in as Taste Funny. So there was a period, and I don't know if this is still the case, but there was a period where the Taste Funny podcast was only following Sadiq Khan. Sadiq Khan, the Mayor of London, and nobody else, and we didn't, and we had no followers ourselves.
Oh,
just one podcast that follows.
Hello, Sadiq.
Yeah,
we love you.
I don't imagine he listens, but hello, Sadiq, if you are listening, big fan. I like the Brexit wheel. I like that. Did you see that?
I didn't see that.
No, you know, it was great. It was basically used. I don't know how. It can't have not been on purpose, but basically for the New Year fire display or firework display, not just fire display. That's a bad thing to do. Here is some fire. This is what all of England will look like in about 3 months' time. And they lit up the London Eye completely blue with like a number of lights around the edge, like yellow lights around the edge to look like the European flag.
Nice.
And it was kind of, I don't know how on purpose. I haven't really looked at. I've just read a few headlines and a few gamonies going, "Yeah, it's really bad," and that's all I know. So that's a very, you don't come here for considered opinions about Sadiq Khan, guys. But no. But we do follow him on Twitter. And he's the only one we follow on Twitter at the moment. So, and then I ran out of data on my phone. So, so that's all. That's going to remain that way for at least another 2 days. So, how have you been?
I've been hibernating for the winter. Basically trying to stay in my house as much as possible, and I've been consuming vast tracts of music because that's what I do when I'm holed up in my house for the winter.
Fair enough. Did you listen to the other 2 Shrag albums?
Do you know what? I actually haven't. I was going to bring them back to you today, but they are at the bottom of the CD pile on my desk of CDs that I need to listen to and burn. I know.
Don't burn them.
No, rip onto my PC, but it's not the point.
So what have you been listening to?
Oh, King Gizzard and the Wizard Lizard. Lots of that. Okay.
It's a good one to say, even if you.
Sorry, Lizard Wizard. I always get that bit backwards.
No, it's Lizard Wizard.
It is Lizard Wizard.
It is
yeah.
Lizard Wizard. I think.
Yeah. Did I say that right the first time? Anyway,
I think so. Yeah.
The point is, I've listened to 2 of their albums and I have enjoyed them immensely. I've been listening to YOB still because I love YOB, but mostly new stuff. Opeth. It's not new. It's an old album, but it's an album that's reasonably new to me because I didn't listen to Opeth when they were popular, and then I saw them live a couple of years ago and they played a lot of stuff from their older albums, and I was like, oh, I actually enjoy this. So,
at the time, were you listening to their newer stuff? And
no,
going,
I'm not
listening to their more commercial stuff.
I'd heard that it's not more commercial. They just they're still basically banging out the same stuff, but they dropped their growled vocals because their vocalist Mikkel couldn't keep it up.
Fair enough.
So
fair enough. Is like is it the bloke from Korn? He got a Avenged Sevenfold.
Yeah, sort of like that. He can't. He still does them occasionally on live sets, which was the case with the set I saw, but normally he won't. But it was one of the best live sets of any band that I've ever seen live. It completely blew my mind open. And so when we went back to the tents after this festival, I asked my friend Stephen which albums I should listen to from the band, and he gave me a list, and then I never listened to them because there's a lot of music in the world.
There is. It's really hard to keep up,
isn't it? Just
that's part of the reason I enjoy doing this, is that it gives me at least one thing to listen to every month that I'm like, I've never heard this before,
and I have to listen.
I have to listen to it. This one is really nice. Yeah. It's good because it gives me. I've got to see you.
Yeah.
And I don't mean that. That sounds like I'm like I have to see it. Like as in because we used to never see each other.
Yeah.
And this has been really nice for being able to see each other more often.
Definitely.
And also. It means I have to listen to at least one thing. I don't always enjoy that thing.
At the end of the day, we do what we always do when we hang out anyway, which is geek out about music.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's yeah.
I mean, so that's good.
That's all you want.
So yeah, there's been Opeth, just a lot of stuff, lots of stuff.
Yeah.
Listen to a lot of hip hop, and this is the thing. I've been thinking about this recently. We need to do an episode, and I'm doing this on pod because why not? Okay. Where we do like a mixtape, because I've got so many like single songs that I really like to give you, but I don't listen to that artist's entire output, and it's usually sort of electronic stuff and hip hop stuff where I'm like, I really like this, and I think Joe would find this very interesting.
That's an interesting concept.
I don't want to give him an entire album, so like an 8-track themed mixtape.
Okay.
British rappers, 8 tracks, bang, something like that.
Okay, I'd be up for that. I think I'd be up for that.
I mean, we'd have to arrange it for next time or whatever.
Oh yeah, no, it would be a weird one to spring on me now.
Yeah. Do it now.
I would really struggle to go through. I'll just give you one track off all of the other albums I've got listed. Though there is also, by the way, for anybody listening who's on Spotify, we do have a playlist. We've got 2 playlists in fact on Spotify. One of all the selections that we've made, and one of just all the albums in total.
That's cool.
Yeah, I know. I probably should have shared that information
with you. Yeah, I have Spotify. You didn't tell me.
I didn't tell you. Well, there we go. I'm telling you now. It'll be one of the things that maybe pops up on Twitter.
The reason I got Spotify was so that I could listen back and review podcasts once you put them up. Because I was just sort of doing it whenever they popped up on the Facebook group. But I was like,
well, I frequently forget to share them on there. So.
Also, I quite enjoy listening to them. Like, I do it sometimes on the way to work or something in the car. I'll stick out. I'm like, all right, okay, let's just listen through and see what dumb stuff I said.
It's good that someone's listening.
Yeah,
it's nice that somebody's listening.
I am one of the. No, I just genuinely I check to make sure you haven't made me look like an idiot in the edit.
I don't. It would be really hard to do that because you don't come across as an idiot anyway.
I often listen to myself.
If anything,
God, that was dumb.
But if anything, I cut out the bits where you pause and judder. So,
I do not judder, sir.
Yeah. I feel like I had another. I do have another question. Would you like a chocolate raisin?
Do you know, I do love a good chocolate raisin. Yeah. God damn, that's crinkly. Sorry. Rest in peace, headphone listeners. Thank you for the chocolate raisins. There's no sneaky chocolate peanuts hiding in there now, is there?
No, I fucking hate chocolate peanuts, mate. You'll not find a chocolate peanut within 10 miles of me.
Fucking love me.
I've taken out a. This is a restraining order.
Weirdly, this is important.
Okay. Why is it important?
It'll come up later.
All right. Okay.
I'll tell you why when we get to it.
That's fucking weird, but okay. I feel like that's. Do you reckon is that the ramble? Should we chat, or have you any other business?
I don't think so.
Might think of some other stuff before the next.
We'll get there.
Yeah.
Oh, I do have some other business.
All right, okay.
You've now listened to the second Idols album. Presumably.
That is very presumptuous. I've listened to up to.
What? What do you mean up to?
Up to Rachel Koo. So I've listened to the first 7 or 8 tracks.
Dude, get on with it.
I know, I'm
you've
trying.
not even got down to White Privilege yet, and that's
I'm
one of the
really
best tracks.
I'm really trying, but I really want to actually listen to it.
Yeah.
What I've mainly been listening to this month is the soundtrack to The Lion King.
Fair enough.
I've just
That's going to be like an omnipresent sound in the background, isn't it?
It is,
Pete eating chocolate raisins.
That's all right. We'll probably just maybe have to hold a finger up.
Raisin break.
Raisin break. I've also been listening to. Have you heard of Rockabye Baby?
No.
They're fucking incredible. They're on Spotify. Definitely worth looking up. This is a solid recommendation for anybody who's a parent who's listening to this. Anyone who's not a parent even. Basically, they're a company. I think they're based in the States. I assume they are because they always are. And basically, they do lullaby versions of all your favourite artists.
Get out.
So we've got, I think at the moment I've had Elton John.
Do they do Slipknot?
Creedence Clearwater. I feel like they might do a Slipknot. They definitely have a Metallica. They definitely have an Iron Maiden. They've got a few incredible. They've got like Beyonce, Gaga. They've got Queen. So we've had that on in the car. Blink-182 and Green Day I had the other week. Finn was asleep within the first 2 minutes of American Idiot by Green Day. Which, I mean, I know that's your general opinion of that song anyway, but that's a separate issue. It was the lullaby version. But seriously, I've been mainly listening to that. It's fucking incredible. You should all have a listen to it. It's amazing. Rockabye Baby, look them up.
I'm gonna put this into practice at work. Maybe that sounds like something I could use at work.
Honestly, they're amazing.
But,
and the best thing about it is
I'm genuinely sick of all the cringeworthy YouTube channels with high pitched squealing like. Computer
have you got like all the like Little Baby Bum and all those ones? Do you watch those ones at work?
Yeah, there's certain people who like.
Pete's a professional paedophile, by the way.
Yeah. Whoa.
May or may not cut that out. Never mind. Carry on.
I mean, you can leave that in there. I'm not a professional paedophile. It doesn't pay.
He's just an amateur paedophile.
Yeah, I'm an amateur paedophile, but professional paedophilia just doesn't pay. So I don't do it for a job. Yeah, we do end up using those videos quite a lot, and they're so annoying. They do my nut.
Have you ever watched one of the ones we were watching today with my son, Club Baboo? And they're like, this is a great story actually. I might tell this story now. Right. So we were, so we were watching these dinosaur videos because my son loves fucking dinosaurs. He doesn't love fucking dinosaurs. He loves dinosaurs. My son loves dinosaurs.
Use the comma.
My son My son fucking loves dinosaurs.
There you go.
So we watch a lot of dinosaurs, and so you try and find. So we're watching some dinosaur videos. And this guy is narrating them. He's got a really weird voice, and it's one of those. There's a little bit more. They look like they've take a bit more care with them. They're a bit more sort of high end than it feels.
Yeah.
Than a lot of the ones you get. A lot of them are really like for a little while. He was going. He'd started pronouncing the names of his dinosaurs really weird. He started saying things like and Spinosaurus, and we couldn't work out for fucking ages. Like, why is he doing this? And we found out it's because it's one of these ones with like an automated speech thing that it says Spinosaurus, and and he's just copying this fucking weird like fucking voice generator, and we're like, oh shit, that's where he's picked it up from. But there's this other one. So this guy's got a bit of an accent, and we couldn't work out where the accent from. And my wife was absolutely convinced. She was like, that is an Irish accent. I was like, it's fucking not. It's Spanish. It's European somewhere. It's not fucking Irish. So we looked up the company. So we looked up the company and found out the name of the bloke who runs the channel. Unhelpfully, the guy's name was Patrick Schoenmaker.
So close. You got a Paddy, but then at the same time.
Yeah. So it's like
German name.
yeah. So then I found him on Facebook.
Yeah.
I sent him an email and said, hi, could you settle an argument for us? Really like your videos, by the way. Loving them. Are either you or your narrator Irish? And it turns out they are Dutch.
This is very close.
Yes, exactly. Yes. Very close to the Irish accent. My wife, by the way, is from Northern Ireland. For anybody not familiar with that fact, she should have known.
This is not how people from the
No, it's really not.
Sound. No,
it was lovely bloke.
Very crazy Dutch people shout.
Yeah.
I love Holland. And again, do you know what? Holland comes up later as well. Oh, there's going to be callbacks galore.
Oh, great. Well, was that the story I was telling? Well, what story was it? Oh, that was it. So yeah.
I think this ramble's done, Joe.
No. That's what I was saying was what I'd been listening to.
All right,
so I'm listening to the Lion King soundtrack.
Yes.
Listen to the Rockabye Baby. Look that up. Also look up the Lion King soundtrack. To be fair, because that's fucking great.
Yeah, Elton John.
It's pretty. I mean, Elton John's amazing. Have I told you about the time? Oh Christ, sorry.
Tangents, Jesus.
I mean, I'm the king, mate. I'm the king of tangents. Me and my colleague were sitting in saying, "Have you ever seen the Family Guy episode where they start slagging off Barry Manilow.
Yes.
And by the end of the conversation, they're like, I fucking love Barry Manilow. Yeah, we literally had the exact same thing with Elton John.
You were telling me about this. Where yeah. God, Elton John's never done anything good. Well, he did Rocket Man.
Yeah, he did do Rocket Man. I suppose the Lion King soundtrack's pretty good. I mean, Yellow Brick Road, you can't go wrong. That's a great Your Song breaks my fucking heart. It's a beautiful tune. And then by the end of the conversation, we were just like, I think Elton John might be my favourite. The guy I went to uni with is currently on his tour doing the photos, which is weird. Yeah,
that's crazy.
Ben Gibson. Doubt you're listening, but
shout
hello,
out
mate,
Ben
if you're there.
Gibson.
No, well done, mate. Well done.
Yeah, good for you. You're putting your degree to some use.
I know, right? So I've been listening to Lion King, Julia Donaldson's songbook, because it turns out she has a. Are you familiar with Julia Donaldson, like the Gruffalo, Snail in the Whale, Ugly Fire?
Yeah, I was, but I didn't know.
Prolific children's author, mostly famous for her works with Axel Scheffler. The ones that she's done, there's been a few on TV and stuff, which are lovely. I saw Zog this Christmas. That was one of my absolute favourites. Bloody loved it. Bought the book last June. Made sure we were ready.
Good.
I knew it word for word. And Christ, do I know them word for word.
Small children, they make you read stuff.
Oh Christ! Honestly, I could honestly I could do a spare episode. In fact, I was going to try and do like a collection of audiobooks. God knows how much of this is making it in the edit. But given how little content we're confident we have, this might. I'm kind of glad we've got a lot to talk about. So yeah,
I think you're so determined you've got nothing that I'm now thinking maybe I have something, because I at least did over an A4.
Oh, I haven't even got a piece of paper.
Oh, I've got it
on my phone, but we'll see. So that's what I've been listening to. I've been listening to the Julia Donaldson songbook, mate. I've listening to A Squash and a Squeeze.
Right.
And there's no need for that calypso. Also, Also, I'm just going to sing. I might play a bit of it in, but I'm going to play it to you now. He's the which is exactly what it would sound like if I was to do death metal growls. 100%. That's as good as I've got so far. 100%. And I'm determined that by this one of my New Year's resolutions, by the end of this year, I'm going to learn how to do it.
YouTube videos.
I know, but the problem is I maintain you can sing loads. Rehearsing death metal growls. Firstly, my son won't listen to it. It's quite embarrassing to practice on your own, especially if you're not good at it. And even when you are good at it, I suspect. Like, I don't imagine any death metal vocalist is walking like he's singing in the shower. Like,
I am. Yeah, no.
Okay.
Because I used to have a shower speaker, so I used to do a bit of growling in the shower. Mostly I do growling in the car nowadays. I'm mostly sort of, I'll be driving to Yob and the moment will take me, or I'll be driving with some like death metal or something, the moment will take me, and I'll just give it some beans in the car. Fair enough. And just, I'm not going to do it now because it'll be very loud.
Yeah, that's
and
fair.
The microphone probably won't take kindly to it. But, yeah. Well, that was weird.
Sorry about that, I talked a lot.
Jingle,
I was just very excited to see
jingle,
it. Yeah.
Jingle.
Okay, so welcome to the meat of the podcast, or it may even be that you filled yourself up on the starter, and this is actually going to be. So, for hopefully that people listening to this are the fans of the bit where I talk. So that's just the lyrics, by the way. I did say before I haven't got a piece of paper. That is still true. So a couple of so what are we talking about this week, Pete?
I believe you should be talking about the majestic "Clearing the Path to Ascend" by Yob.
Yes. Okay. So I've got a few notes up top.
Good.
Yob, I can only pronounce in my head as when Rowan Atkinson says Bob. Yob. I can literally only pronounce it in that way, and I will be doing so as much as I can throughout the rest of the podcast.
Yob.
Well, it's lovely to see you, Yob. So,
Bob.
Point 2. I've probably only listened to this album about 6 or 7 times.
Oh, yeah. It's a fairly lengthy endeavour, so like getting 6 or 7 times through it is pretty good going. Third
note, and I think this might surprise you. I think this is the best album you've given me so far.
Excellent.
I think this is my favourite album that you've given me.
No way.
Yep.
More favourite than
Neutral Milk Hotel.
Wow.
Certainly, I probably won't listen to this as much.
No.
But this is a better album.
I'm glad you feel that way, because it was definitely like when I heard it for the first time, I was like, oh, this is something. Well,
this is, I think, what the majority of this is going to be, because I remember you saying when you recommended me this album, that this album changed the way you thought about doom metal.
Yeah.
Now, I don't think about doom metal,
no.
so I don't know what I expected.
Yeah.
In what respect did it change the way you thought about doom metal? Because I don't really understand
This is something. So, doom metal is a bit of a genre. Anyway, it's a bit of a sort of a biggie because it starts all the way back with Sabbath, and then
it felt like I was listening to a Sabbath 45 slowed down to 33.
Yeah, it's sort of it rumbled along in the sort of the background of metal, and it's never really been super popular in metal. Like, you know, the big sort of, even in underground metal, which is what most of the metal I listen to is. I don't listen to a lot of sort of radio friendly or even what would be considered popular metal, because I find most
hard to
of
describe this as radio friendly.
Yeah, it's definitely not that. But you know, I'm talking about sort of. I'm struggling to think of a current radio-friendly death metal band. You know, like Chelsea Grin, and I know they're not. They're deathcore, and they're really angry, and they're really heavy, and you'd never hear them on Radio 1 or anything. But my point is that
you could literally never. You were never going to name anyone I'd heard of.
Exactly,
really, so.
yeah. But it's the one that all the teens with the slanty haircuts are listening to nowadays. They listen to that, and I'm like, I don't get it. I don't like it. But my point being, even in extreme and underground metal, you know, death metal, black metal, all that sort of stuff, doom metal has always sort of been like a fairly low key genre. Not
would Cradle of Pilfering be the equivalent of like Chelsea Grin now? In terms of the popularity, in terms of the way, like
Cradle of Filth were always like the most popular black metal band in existence. Yeah, they're like the most sort.
Because they're not
even the most popular.
They're the one
but
who the hoodies. You still see the hoodies now.
Yeah, like when if a teenager was like, I listen to black metal, and you'd be like, yeah, what do you listen to? I like Cradle of Filth. You'd be like, okay, you don't really listen to black metal.
Look harder.
Look harder.
Sorry, I've been listening to a lot of Lion King.
Try again. So doom metal was always fairly low key anyway, and when I started listening to doom, a lot of the stuff I was listening to was either really Sabbath worshipy, and had a lot of clean vocal in it, really clean, like these wailing cleans, Sabbath-esque, you know what I mean? Like a lot of doom metal is Sabbath worship, but then there was sort of stoner doom, and I heard Sleep for the first time, and I heard Electric Wizard and Conan and people like that, who are basically just down tuning and super distorting, and their riffs are very slow and very heavy and you know, ringing out these massive power chords at, you know, tremendous volumes with lots of bass. And while I love that stuff and Electric, and all three of those bands that I've just named, Sleep, Electric Wizard and Conan, are like my doom heroes, or they were, Yob has something else. Yob has this emotional aspect to it, and the way they structure songs and their use of space in their music is so good. Like, they're just really good at it, and Sleep are good at it, and Conan are good at it, and you know, Monolord are great at it, but they're not as good as Yob in my opinion. And none of them have the same emotional depth. It's very rare for me to feel like I'm having my heartstrings tugged at when I'm listening to a doom metal record, whereas I could safely point to 3 or 4 albums by Yob which I find absolutely soul-rending. And it's a mixture of things that they do. For example, the guitarist and vocalist Mike Schmidt uses a thumb pick, because he grew up in
Can I
Oregon.
just correct you there? Because it is because it's not Schmidt. It's no
Shite.
It's Shite.
It's Shite. Mike Shite. Sorry,
Mike Shite.
Yeah,
I read it the first time, and I was reading an interview with him last night. It's like Shite. No, it's Shite.
Yeah, it's just Shite.
Or Sheet, possibly Sheet.
I'm pretty sure it's Shite, because I've heard him pronounce it himself, and I'm pretty sure I went, oh. So
lol.
Polite laughter.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to make sure that I had
got that in there.
Mr.
Shite. Mr. Shite uses a thumb pick. You know, because he grew up in Oregon, and he worked in a guitar shop, and a lot of the people he learnt guitar from, and the people that he was around when he was working in this shop, were all sort of blues and country players.
Well, there's a lot of that in Marrow on this album specifically. Marrow is a huge.
There's blues in doom metal as a sum. You know, as a total. You know, it's very much directly descended from the blues sound, but because that's the way he learned to play, he doesn't play with like a pick like everyone else. He plays thumb pick, and then he picks underneath, because for ages I thought he was using a loop pedal. I was like, he must be looping that section, he must be looping the, you know, boom, and then he's putting in the high bits afterwards. But no, he's just thumb strumming and finger picking. So
is that unusual for doom?
It's unusual for metal, full stop.
Oh, okay.
It's just, there's not a lot of metal bands out there that don't use sort of standard picks, and you know, I mean, how many people do you know total that play with a thumb pick? Like, do you know any of you? What musicians in your life have you come across where you're like, use the thumb pick?
I think
There's not a. And
Frank Skinner.
One.
He plays the banjo.
Yeah.
I think he plays it with a thumb pick.
But my point is, it's not a very common thing for you.
Certainly
to come
not
across
in the music that
metal,
we tend
punk,
to.
indie.
Like a lot of
completely
country.
weird. So, and I think that's a lot
Well,
of
a
what
lot of
makes
like acoustic music, you would get a lot more.
Yeah. But I'm just saying,
country,
in those genres, more so, it's even more rare to find someone using that sort of stuff. And like I say, I feel like over there, they've been going for a while now, and they've really crafted.
This was their 7th album, is that right?
Yeah, 7th. And I've
was 8.
got the 8th one in the car.
Okay.
It's what I was listening to on the way here,
Okay,
and it's really good. So you should listen to it.
See, this is another thing. I don't know how much of it I'm going to listen to more of because I don't. I've had to make a real effort to listen to this.
It's
because I've enjoyed it, and I think what's been really, like I say, in terms of I've said outright it's probably my favourite piece of music you've given me. It probably won't. Like I say, I would listen to Neutral Milk Hotel. I'd put that on to listen to. This is something that it would be. It's great. I think you might have just caught me because I know we spoke a bit last month about the fact that sort of Run the Jewels, the first time I started listening to that, it wasn't a hip hop month for me, Pete.
Yeah, and maybe I caught you in a sorrowful metal month.
You've caught me in a metal month. Yeah. It's it's winter, it's cold, it's shitty.
Oh, it's perfect music for this time of year. Yeah, absolutely. Like I say, I was listening to the new album on the way up, as I've just said, and I was thinking, God damn it, I couldn't have picked a better time. Actually, I was listening to it earlier today as well. I'm like, Jesus, I couldn't have picked a better time of year to listen to this. This is sublime.
It absolutely makes perfect sense for this time of year. So, like I say, I've got very little.
Because I think the thing is, this album is so lumbering and slow, and there's lyrics, but they're very spread out. And
okay. So, let's start because this is my usual starting. My usual jumping off point is lyrics.
Okay.
I couldn't be arsed with the lyrics at all.
Okay.
They're very metal by numbers for me. And I'm not saying that they were.
I don't necessarily agree with that.
I think maybe it's because I'm not as articulate in the genre as you are.
Maybe.
But for me, so I'm looking at things. They just read. I'm just rustling the paper now. All my life stared into flames of the gods, burning in this dreaming unease. Like it's literally just. And I'm not saying that they haven't. Yeah. I'm not saying he hasn't screwed the words out of his soul. I'm not saying he hasn't because I've read a bit more about the background of where he was at with this album, and I'm totally.
Do you know, it's weird. I haven't, so I'd be interested to.
Well, basically,
just
at the time he was going through a divorce. He was coming off his psych meds, so he was trying to cope without them throughout the period of this, the writing and the recording of this album.
God, that's so weird. Because like Nothing to Win is like one of the songs that I was listening to just after I'd become a divorced person, and it was so empowering. It was such a weirdly empowering song. Yeah, this whole album, to be fair, Marrow especially.
Marrow's fucking great. Marrow. Oh, that's.
I was thinking about this the other day. It's a full third of the album, Marrow.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. So, like, because I put in, obviously, we forgot at the end of the last recording session. Yeah. We forgot to do recommendations for each of the albums we were talking about this time.
Yeah, we did. Yeah.
And I put in the first bit of the heavy bit of Marrow. Is that roughly what you want to go with? What is there any specific bit you'd have liked me to put? Because I could put that in now if you'd like.
Here's the thing: I would have picked something from Nothing to Win, but I also probably wouldn't have picked something from Nothing to Win. Here's the thing: I would love to have said, "Here's Nothing to Win" by Yob, and this is one of my favourite songs from the album. But it's so unrepresentative of the album as a sum that I went no.
Okay, well while we're on that subject then, here's the opening riff from Nothing to Win because it was my favourite bit. This is the clip I was going to play. So I'm going to play that now.
Yeah. Holy shit, that's pummeling.
It's so good.
It's so pummeling. It just comes in and just brays you.
And it goes on for fucking ever.
Right, here's the thing. We're just going to jump to Nothing to Win right now because I have a thing. How knackered must that drummer be by the end of that 10-minute song? He does roughly, by my vague estimation, about 7 minutes of drum roll.
Yeah.
And when he's not doing drum rolls, he's literally doing 16th or 8th notes on his foot on the floor.
Yeah.
On the kick drum, sorry. Ba 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 all the way through the chorus.
Yeah.
And then he's straight back to drum rolls again for another sort of 3 minutes.
Yeah.
And then he gets a little break at the end.
Yeah. But to be fair though, Nothing to Win is the shortest track on the album.
Yes, at 10 minutes.
Yep, 11.
11 minutes, sorry.
11 minutes. But so for the rest of the album, I imagine the drummer's pretty bored.
Yeah.
So it's nice that he got something to do. That was my other, like, speaking as a percussionist, like as a drummer, how would you? Because I feel like I could really enjoy playing something like this. Like I feel like I could really lose myself in the headspace and really get into.
We vaguely touched on this, but I hadn't given you the record when we jammed last. The last time you popped up to my house and
that was ages ago.
It was fucking ages ago, and I was saying if we did anything else, if we did another band, or if I did another band at the moment, I think I'd like to do something more slow and groovy. Yeah. And it was because I was listening to stuff like Yob, and I was listening. I'd re-listened to some Caius records, and I was really in that stoner rock. Elder, I just discovered the joys of Elder while walking on a hill, and Elder came into the playlist, and I was just like, oh.
For a moment, I wasn't sure whether Elder while walking on a hill was the full name of the band.
No, Elder is the name of the band. They are a stoner rock band, and there's a good chance I'll give you them at some point because they are really good. But I bought the album and never listened. I'd listened to it like once or twice, and I was like, I don't get it really. And then I was walking on a hill in the hot sun with my dog, and it came on as the next album in my list of albums that I wanted to listen to that day. And the view and the place I was in my head and the music, and it just my mind just exploded. Basically, I was like, oh, I get it now. Friggin' hell! Yeah. Whoa!
No,
this is something else.
Yeah, it's like a piece of classical music. Like I get. Like reading the lyrics, you can sort of see. I feel like I had this a little bit with Devin Townsend maybe as well, or possibly even with just actually to be fair, I'll say with all the metal bands you've given me, and I'm yet to find. Obviously, I don't listen to a huge amount of metal. Really, I wouldn't even know where to. Even if I was using this as a jumping off point, I wouldn't know where to then go because I'm so inarticulate in the genre. Like I've enjoyed listening to the stuff you've given me. I wouldn't probably pick most of it out for myself, but I'm glad to have had this in my sort of listening repertoire. I think is that the word? Yeah. So, but I'm still finding that most lyrically, I'm finding most of it is very like random thoughts put down on paper and then put into some sort of order, so they kind of work as an overall concept. Like they don't, because I'm very much from a background of. In terms of my own songwriting, which I mean could barely be called that, but it does exist. And in terms of the stuff I listen to, it's very like, rhyming couplets. It makes sense as a song, as a pop song. I'm very much a pop song sort of a person.
Yeah.
And these don't make sense in that way.
No.
And I feel like possibly if you listen to stuff from like an operatic background or from a theatrical background. Actually, no, even theatre, even musical theatre. These don't sound like musical theatre. Some of the Devin Townsend stuff
does, yeah.
Really does.
Metal is theatre, metal is jazz, metal is... I've made these comparisons a lot. But
yeah. But and I totally agree with you. I don't think I get it so much. You'll have to forgive me, guys, by the way, guys, because it's really cold in this car.
It's freezing.
So like I'm now opening the piece of paper. You can. But there's loads of stuff. Like it feels like if you saw this. Like when like when you like in a film when a teenager is troubled and like they open their notebook and there's like writing that they've gone over loads of times in scribbly pen. They've scribbled it because they're really sad, and it feels like let's see if I can find a bit. Let's go to Nothing to Win.
Oh, there'll be plenty of stuff in there.
Churning maelstrom, a dying kiss, fury let loose. I'm really sad because she doesn't like me, Pete. I mean, she doesn't like me. Not the way I like her. She thinks I'm just a friend.
Here's the thing. I would much rather somebody do what Mike's done here as opposed to just doing what you've done there, which is most of what pop metal will do. So I'm like, and she dumped me, and now I'm sad, and I hope she dies. This is poetry. The lyrics, yes, but they are poetic, and they are... he writes in a really sort of, it's a lot of sort of mystical and spiritual, and these really vivid images of just the imagery in the songs really, because I hadn't looked up the lyrics to this song this album for ages, and then one day I put them on my big TV monitor on my computer, and I stuck the album on at a very loud volume, and I just sat there and just read through it as I was listening to the album. It really helped me understand the album a lot better, I think.
Okay. Well, maybe that's the thing, because I
it
feel
was also because I was just sick of not being able to sing along properly in the car.
That is problematic. I find that really difficult. But then that said, I wouldn't know where to come in, because it's like, it's been 12 minutes now. He's not said anything. Do you think anything? That drummer's arms must be tired. He's going to have to give him a break. But no, like I feel like maybe that's the thing. Like I think I said this about Devin Townsend's record as well. That the expression is, the lyrics are there, and the lyrics kind of say what he's wanting to say, but the music is the thing that is the expression.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
The music's the lyrics. I could listen to this album as an instrumental without any queries at all.
I would give that to every song except the first two. I could definitely listen to the last two songs as instrumentals.
And I like the vocals.
And,
I like the way he sings, and I like the vocals in the songs.
Oh, that's good. I'm glad you like those.
I like the
guitar
style.
solo. How was that? Brief is the answer.
Great. In an hour, one guitar solo, and it fitted. It felt like it was meant to happen. It didn't feel like it was just there because he was going, oh shit, we're an hour in and we've not done anything. We better just put one in. Quick, someone do some sweet picking. It was nice because this felt like a lot more soulful a record than anything that you've given me in the past. Yeah. And I think I really enjoyed it for that reason. Who's Rigpa? Meant to look that up. Who's Rigpa?
Rigpa.
Yeah, in Unmask the Spectre. Arise, Rigpa, arise. Who is Rigpa?
I did look it up, and I don't remember.
Cool.
So, I believe it's sort of it'll be. Mike, I don't know if you've seen any pictures of Mike outside of the one video I sent you. By the way, did you watch the video?
I really liked that video. Yes,
I'll
try and remember to post that in the thing. There's an acoustic. Just for Pete sent me an acoustic version of Marrow, and I think I may have watched that before I listened to the rest of the album.
Oh, right.
I may not have listened to the album by the time I watched that. I can't remember now.
I mean, it's beautiful, and it condenses Marrow down by 10 minutes, which is always nice because it's a 20-minute behemoth of a song.
I would have still enjoyed watching it at 20 minutes.
Yeah.
He kind of just looks, though, like in that video, he kind of just looks like someone who had left John Lennon in a forest.
Well, that's what he looks like, metal John Lennon.
He really does
he
look like
looks like he
John Lennon.
sounds as well, which is nice.
I really like his vocal style. Like I like he's got a nice bit of range, but his style really suits so even if the lyrics hadn't been there and he hadn't been like, it's good that they're there because they fit the songs, but he could literally have just been going la 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 la.
Well, I think
la la la, we all live in a yellow submarine. Like I could have totally been up for that, and I would have been well up for that.
I think that's a thing that people often say when listening to metal is like the voice is as much an instrument as the rest of the band. Yeah. So when people are going, well, you can't understand what he's saying, it's like, well,
it's not really the point.
You've sort of missed the point of the thing there.
Yeah. Which is something I'm starting to understand a little bit more.
It's about emotion and feeling, and that just like, grrr, you know, and
just gonna punch this chair.
Which interestingly is not something that happens a lot in Yob. There's not a whole bunch of grrr, but when there is grrr, it's really good. He has a really unique voice, is what I would say for him. Like his growls are very distinct, and his clean vocals are also very clear. Oh, not clear necessarily, because they're often under a lot of effects, and they're quite sunken into the mix, as is the nature of the way the music sounds. But they are a very strong clean. Yeah,
they're really beautifully produced as well. They've so again, because I've been listening to this on the cans, Pete, which I'm now starting to appreciate a little bit more for music. Certainly,
it's the details that you've got to pick out, man.
So, but this lovely. I can't even remember what song I was referring to when I wrote it, but I've made a note just about this kind of lovely echoey, reverby soundscape, like blood rushing through your ears. Like you just feel like
it's the back end of Nothing to Win.
Yeah, no,
or
I think it might be the back of. No, I think it might be In Our Blood.
Oh,
I might be wrong, because as I say, these aren't in any sort of order, and I can't remember. Like I listened to it twice last night or the night before.
Yeah.
It must have been Monday night. I listened to it twice through, to try and make some.
That's an effort.
Oh, eventually I got bored and started drawing, but.
With the music still on?
With the music still on.
Yeah, of course you did.
Yeah. Because it's really good for doing shit.
Yeah, it's amazing.
It's great.
For doing stuff.
It's not background music, but it's really good to have on, but not necessarily because it's an atmosphere.
You can sink into it, right? You can lose yourself in that album completely.
Absolutely. I'm not down with the fade down in Nothing to Lose though.
The way it fades out at the end.
Yeah, don't fade out.
Yeah,
I hate a fade out. I hate a fade out, especially in metal, because it just feels like everything else is so powerful. I don't remember. Did I talk about the Nina Simone thing the last time we talked about fade out?
I don't remember.
So basically, the recorded version of Nina Simone's "Feeling Good," which is a song that I sing a lot, but the recorded version of that, the album version of that, has this brilliant fucking powerful note at the end where she just goes, "And I'm feeling good," and it just good. It just fades out, and you're like, why you just fucking cut her balls off like that? Why would you do that? Like, there's so much power in that note, and then it's just gone. And you're like, that is a weird decision. And I'm not saying that that's the case in all of these records. It really stands out in that. And fuck it, I'm going to play it now. I'm feeling good. Isn't that weird?
That's very odd. I didn't hear a thing.
Yeah, really strange. So I fucking, because I adore that song, but I'm sure the live versions are way more powerful because she's allowed to fucking finish the note, and I feel like it loses. I always feel like a fade out just emasculates the song completely. Totally just makes it lose some of it.
What I would have liked them to do there is to interweave the beginning of Unmask the Spectre and the end of Nothing.
That would have made so much more sense because it's so much already one great big piece of art. Why would you? Why cut it off?
I mean, the thing is, they do that. They do that on this album. I think Unmask the Spectre goes straight into Marrow, but I could be wrong there.
I don't know. I don't think it does, but I wouldn't be surprised.
They definitely do it on their other albums. They've definitely, like, The Great Cessation, I think, flows really.
I was thinking about this. I was doing a lot of. I could really enjoy being in a band that played this sort of music because I used to because I don't really play guitar or bass as often as I used to, but when I do, it tends to be a little bit of sort of sleepy noodling. That's how I'm going to describe it.
Yeah,
sleepy noodling. And that's how this album to me, it feels like it would have. I've also described it as feels really, and then in capitals, big. All the instruments, colossal. All the instruments are very distinct, but but also just create this huge, big, rumbling bastard together. Like they meld together so well, but you can pick everything out. The fact that there's only the three of them kind of really stands out. But they're all at exactly the right levels, and I don't really notice production values. It's not really my bag.
I mean, it's not production values is.
Oh, production style then maybe.
Yeah, but you definitely do because you've already said, it sounds big. But I mean, like, to me, and this is something that you won't know because you've not listened to other Yob records, but on this record in particular, I feel like they pushed the guitar tone to this really high frequency place compared to maybe some of their other, and not less distorted, but more clarity in the distortion. It's not just big and fuzzy, it's rattly and really intense, just higher frequencies that they've pushed up there and made louder and more noticeable compared to, say, the album before, Atma, where everything's just this one big fuzzy mess. A great fuzzy mess that it is. Lovely fuzzy mess. Probably my second favourite album after Clearing the Path. New album notwithstanding, because I've not really given it a thorough going over yet. There's I feel like this album they really cleaned up the guitar tone and made it quite not distinct, but distinct from the rest of the rest of the instruments that are playing. Because, like I say, it's very easy when you're playing, I guess, this style of music to have so much distortion that everything just becomes one big fuzz over. And as you've said, you can really clearly pick out, like, okay, bassist doing this, guitarist doing this, and it's, even though it's this huge wall of noise, you can still be like, I heard the bassist do an interesting thing there.
So you talked about a lot before with, I feel like I'm making a lot of comparisons to Devin Townsend.
That's okay.
I don't think they're necessarily valid
stylistically completely different, but production-wise very similar.
Well, that's what I was going to say, is that I feel like, because I know that the term wall of sound got used a lot when we talked about Devin Townsend, because it is a term that's used a lot with regards to him. But I felt like in that album, it was maybe, I know because it was an early part of his career, it didn't feel like it was maybe as good as it maybe later would be. I don't know, because I've not actually listened to any more.
That would be a good assumption, yeah.
Yeah. Whereas with this album, this feels like they'd gone for a similar sort of vibe and achieved it.
Yeah, well, like I say, this is 7 albums in.
Yeah. And
I have to say, like, I like the 2 albums that preceded this, and I've attempted to listen to their really early stuff, the first 4 albums, which have a different bassist on and whatever, a few times. And
Was Mike Shite not in it for a bit as well?
He is the band basically.
Right,
Like the other guys are obviously in the band and they
like the
have been there for a
Toy
long
Dolls
time.
of Doom
But
Metal.
yeah, without him there's no Yob because
Right.
he is the guitarist, vocalist, songwriter.
Yob.
Okay. Bop, bop.
That was another question I had.
Mm-hmm.
Is doom metal generally considered to be more melodic than other types of metal, or is
No.
that specific to this album?
That's-
Because this is a really melodic album.
No, that's a Yob thing. This is what I'm saying. Like, this is what I was trying to get across before. Like when Conan. Let's have a little bit of Conan. We're gonna have the first track from Existential Void Guardian. It's called
Oh, God,
Prosper
I'm
the
gonna look that up.
Path. So that's about the normal range of sort of stoner doom and those sorts of genres. I mean, Conan are a very like we are heavy and we don't do anything but heavy example, but generally speaking, less emotion. There are bands out there that can definitely inject emotion into doom metal. Windhand spring instantly to mind. But
they do spring immediately to my mind.
Of course, yeah,
Of course they do.
because you listen to so much Windhand.
So much Windhand.
I do. I love Windhand, and they're very good. But
Windhand.
Yob take that emotional thing to another level. I've never listened to a Doom record that's made me feel more than a Yob record.
Yeah.
Like, and not just this one, but a couple of them, and they just sink their teeth into you. It's unbelievable. Yeah.
Yeah. Fair enough. I do feel like I feel like I need to touch on the stoner doom bit.
Go for it.
So, is the hippy dippy shit?
Yeah.
Is that standard for doom and stoner doom, or is
What
that again?
hippie dippy shit? Be more
Oh,
specific.
the whole thing is hippy dippy shit. If you read the lyrics,
Yeah.
you're
Specifically the lyrical content.
so yeah, I'm talking because obviously it's difficult to be hippy dippy with the sound of doom metal.
Yeah. Okay.
But the content, so like, and also because I looked up the philosopher who is quoted in the bit where because the record
They
opens.
use him on a couple of records. Actually.
Yeah, I found this out. And there's a philosopher called Alan Watts who is sort of Zen and Buddhism and Tao and all that sort of hippy dippy bullshit. And it comes at like it really like it literally the record opens with him going, "It's time to wake up."
Yeah.
And it really and there's a longer quote for him. There's a longer sort of bit of a
the back end of that track.
at the back end of that track. And like I think I kind of when I looked him up, I was like, who is this philosopher they have quoted? Maybe if I read some of his stuff, I will feel more connected with the band. And then I looked it up, and all his books look like the sort of books that you get recommended in the fucking mind, health, and body section of fucking Waterstones.
Yeah.
Because they all look like just, how better to be a better person and yourself, and how to be connected with. I'm not saying that is exactly what he looks like.
No, yeah.
But that's like literally how his books are clearly marketed, because that's what all the front covers look like. He died of alcoholism in a fucking cabin, so clearly not that connected with himself, but that's a separate issue. Sorry, Alan's family.
Yeah, wow.
but
Jeez,
no, but practice what you preach, mate. You know what I'm saying?
His no is the answer to your question. That's very much a Mike Shite thing.
That's a shite.
Conan are also a stoner doom band. They sing predominantly about war and battles and like fantasy universe stuff. Basically, their entire thing is set in Dungeons and Dragons, and they are singing from the perspective of the characters. And
because this really feels like the lyrical content of this really feels like it encapsulates the phrase stoner doom.
Well,
like
Sleep have an album called Dope Smoker, and I'm pretty sure you can guess what that album's about. In fairness, it's less of an album and more of a song. It's one 40-minute piece, and it's gargantuan. But that's neither here nor there. Electric Wizard's most their standout breakout album was called Dope Throne, and I bet you can guess what that's about.
I'm getting it.
So stoner doom generally tends to be In fact, there's even a band called Dope Throne who named themselves after that album, and they write some fantastic songs. They wrote a song about the Killdozer guy.
There's a band that I will recommend you later, which I need to Google to check out. They supported the Cribs on their most recent series of shows that we went to see in Manchester. Who Editor Joe's going to tell me what they're called just now.
Hi Joe, the band you're thinking of is Newcastle-based rockers D-Mob Happy. Back to you.
You should listen to them.
Okay, okay.
Whatever.
I guess I'll find out in 2 or 3 weeks who that was.
I'll hopefully get this.
Oh, there's one more like mention on the what bands who are Stoner Doom bands.
This is going to be for the whole, because I haven't done for a little while. I haven't done the whole list of bands we've mentioned.
Oh, shit.
This is going to be really difficult to do.
I mean, this one should stick in your head. This is a Welsh band actually, and what they actually sing about is mostly pagan-y stuff and sort of in their native tongue as well, which is really interesting. But the band are called, are you ready? Mammoth Weed Wizard Bastard.
Jesus Christ. See, sometimes I tell people that we were in a band called the X Towels, available on Bandcamp, and I tell people that, and I think that's fucking ridiculous.
What a ridiculous name.
And then you list a bunch of bands that you genuinely listen to, and I go,
who have you been listening to? I've been listening to Dying Fetal Offspring this week.
Well, yeah.
That's not even a real band. I just made that up.
Is it not?
No.
I've definitely told the Flesh Eating Love Bug thing, haven't I?
Flesh Eating what?
Flesh Eating Love Bug. I must have told that story at some point. I'm not listening back to all 11 episodes to check.
No.
But there's a bit, and I became vaguely obsessed with it. There's a bit. Are you familiar at all with Coronation Street?
Absolutely not.
So there was a bit where Craig, who I think was played by a guy called Richard Fleischman, and Rosie, who I can't remember the name of the actor, but she was very attractive, and they were goths, they were teenage goths.
Right.
And there was a bit, and I don't really watch it, I never really have watched Coronation Street, but there's a bit where she's sitting at the bus stop, and he approaches her and goes, "Oh, what are you listening to?" And she goes, "Oh, Flesh Eating Love Bug." They're not a real band.
No.
Someone in the writer's room came up with that.
Hey man,
and I literally
like an edgy goth band.
Yeah.
Flesh Eating Love
And in
Bug.
fairness, until about 2 years ago, I would think about this often and would go, I assume that is a real band. Because it's that, it wouldn't be that fucking hard to find
Shall
one.
we start a band and call it Flesh Eating
If we
Love
do start
Bug?
another band, I'm definitely up for that.
Start a doom metal band.
Start a doom metal band called Flesh Eating Love Bug.
Which is
I
good.
think about that at least once a month. That just that bit. Because I can really vividly see it. Yeah, I mean,
Sorry.
I know.
Yup.
I don't know if there's much more I do need to say. I'm just going to quickly double check.
I want to know like what parts of the album made you feel, because a lot of the beauty in this album is in the negative spaces and in these huge wailing walls of feedback that go on for 3 minutes with just the drums thumping under them, and Marrow is an entire 20-minute expanse of textural prettiness. Like, what was it? What were the parts that made you just go, oh? Was there any particular?
I'm going to struggle here. There was a bit. I think it was in.
I don't even need specific timestamps. Like, what parts of the sonic landscape of YOB?
Well, there were
enjoying?
bits. There were bits where I definitely noticed things like the thing I mentioned earlier, where it just felt like all I could hear was like the feedback with blood rushing through my ears, and I genuinely wasn't sure if it was my own actual blood rushing through my ears or if it was part of the sonic creation. That was really affecting. I'm really not sure, because I think for all I've listened to this probably not a few times.
You've listened to it 6 or 7 times.
6 or 7 times.
That's
in the
quite a
space
lot
of
of
a
YOB.
month.
That's 7 hours of YOB.
That's true, but even so, it didn't feel like a lot, because a lot of it's not the easiest album to listen to, but I have been enjoying it. It's really difficult to pinpoint.
I realise,
because there's a general rule. Because do you know what it is? It's hard to imagine this album ever being at a stage where it was like, oh, what should we do for this bit? What should this bit lead to? It feels very complete. It feels, this sounds so wanky, but it feels like a very complete record that really works as the piece that it is.
You can't take it to bits song by song, really.
Yeah.
I mean, you can.
And I was really going to struggle to do that anyway, because with only 4 songs, the lyrics are like, maybe, like I say, there's less than 100 words probably in the whole fucking album.
Comparative to Run the Jewels.
Comparatively, comparative to the last fucking thing I had to do. So from my usual MO was completely thrown by this, and unfortunately, because I've not had the time that I maybe would have liked to dedicate to really listening to it. In the same way that I always used to find this really difficult because I did music at A level, and I did very badly at it, but I did do it, and they can never take that away from me, Peter.
Exactly.
I got an E. I always used to find this in the musical comprehension parts of my music A level and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I used to find that really difficult because I could tell you what I love and I could tell you I'm enjoying it, but I find it really difficult to pick stuff. I find it really difficult to pick the bit, like the music apart. Lyrically, I can spend hours over lyrics, and I might not always get it right, but I can enjoy.
Yeah.
I can really enjoy picking apart the music.
It's weird because I think I approach things from the exact opposite perspective.
Yeah, no,
I
I
really
know you
don't
do.
give less of a toss about the lyrics. I am very much into like
That
the
probably
way,
explains why you can listen to so much metal.
the way, yeah, probably. The way, I mean, I do care about the lyrics, and the lyrics. I think the lyrics in this album are really great. I love them. I especially like shouting along to "Nothing to Win" in the car. It makes me feel.
Don't get me wrong, they're not.
Where everything we love is everything we break bit. That bit just makes me so friggin' pumped. But it's not the point. The point is, I'm very much. I always approach things from, do I like this as a musical thing? And that's good because I think this is what allows me to listen to stuff that most people go, and by most people, I don't just mean, regular people on the man on the street people. I mean, like when I'm talking to people who like metal and they're like, I have no idea how you listen to that band, and I'm just like, they're probably not even a metal band. They're probably like a noise rock band or something, and I'm just like, I really like that, and they're like, it's horrible. I'm like, yeah, but I really like it. And why? Because the sounds in the mix, it's and we're gonna get.
But that's how you listen to stuff like Aphex Twin and all that sort of
Venetian
shit.
snares and
Venetian,
Masona and
the stuff that. But that's like I think you find that stuff really, really interesting.
Well, because it's so detailed and there's so many. Lovely.
Whereas I'm very much a words guy, and I find that I find it very difficult to listen to the. Like I say, when I was trying to tune into that space, Cattle Decapitation is something I would find completely unlistenable prior to having had a proper go at it.
Yeah.
But this didn't feel like something that I had to try very hard to enjoy. Like I really did enjoy this a lot.
I think the thing with Yob is it runs the gambit between being very heavy, being very emotionally wrought, and having these moments that are not always musically beautiful, but are extreme moments of just. There's no other way to describe it. There's just beauty in some of this stuff where it's just the feedback and bit at the end of Nothing to Win is one of my absolute high points on the entire album. There's no words. The drums aren't doing anything interesting anymore. They've slowed to a sort of
and fair play to the guy because he really could do with a break.
Everything is being carried by the bass, which is just rumbling away. Boom, ba-da-dum, boom, ba-dum, dum, ba-dum, boom, ba-da-dum, boom, but just over and over, and all the rest of it for that solid maybe 3 minutes is just feedback going through a reverb pedal, and that's all it is. And it's just Mike just waggling his guitar around, being very careful how he waggles and tweaking on the reverb pedal and making it sound huge and spacious and cavernous. But that's very beautiful. The entirety of Marrow is just gorgeousness attacking your face. It's like a weird little reward for getting through the first 3 tracks.
I really like the acoustic version of Marrow that you sent me. I thought was fucking lovely, and I think that's probably would have been one of my takeaway bits from this album. Yeah, was that I'd love to hear the whole thing played acoustically. Yeah, I think it's really. I just think it's really.
I think it'd lend itself quite nicely.
It definitely would. It definitely would. Have you ever seen these live?
I've not, but I want to.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can't decide if I'd enjoy it.
I had the chance to go see Conan live in Newcastle just before Christmas, and I didn't end up going because various stuff. But I really regretted it. But I would have kicked myself way harder if it had been Yob, definitely. I'd have been distraught. So I'm really hoping they rock up at a festival with them having a new album out. I'm hoping that they show up at Bloodstock or something this year, and I'll be like, all right, there we go, I'm off. Gonna go see Yob. Gonna go pay for an entire festival ticket just to go see a band I love. Yeah, wouldn't be the first time.
But I think, all in all, I feel like we should probably draw this to a close because I don't know how much more I can say about it. I really liked it. I don't know if it's something that hopefully I will. I imagine I will listen to it again because it'd be the sort of thing that if I'm working and I'm not in the mood for listening to a podcast, or I'm not in the mood for listening to, if I'm in the mood for trying to create something, this is really good for that. It feels like a whole world within itself, and I don't know under what basis I'm saying that because I don't really have any authority to do so.
It's so weird that because I totally agree with you. It's just like when you listen, and this goes for most Yob albums. I would say definitely this one, definitely the new one, definitely The Great Cessation and Atma, for me at least. When I put them on, it's because they're so long, right? These are long songs and they are long pieces of music, and I can just turn around and go, holy crap, I'm listening to Marrow. How long have I been sat here?
Yeah.
How long have I been sat here staring into space, just listening to this? Because it just sucks you in and envelops you, and then, oh, that's an hour. I've just lost an hour.
Well, the first time I listened to it, I was stuck in traffic on the way back from work. And I don't normally drive to work, but I thought, fuck it, I know the traffic's going to be bad. I'm going to just put this album on. I reckon I'm going to be at least an hour in this car. So I put that on. And the journey passed way quicker than I expected it to, listening to songs that were as long as this.
And slow.
And so slow. So slow. But it's really hard. And I'm sure there must be some really fucking detailed analysis out there of what makes these songs what they are. And I'm sure even the band probably don't know. I'm sure that's probably a feature of this. But this whole thing feels like it just is. It doesn't feel like there must have been any writing process. It just feels like it must have just been. And I'm sure it wasn't.
Just coming to being.
It's unlike that was the case, because that's not really how music works.
I imagine Mike spent hours agonising over this.
Yeah. I mean, at least an hour. but that's the thing.
There's one thing you've not touched on that I'm very interested in.
Okay.
How do you feel about it being so very slow?
I liked that. This is to be honest, this is one of the things it felt very accessible for a metal record. Like, I feel like it's something that this is kind of because there's not a lot of faff for, like, that sounds ridiculous for an album for an album with 4 fucking songs that are all 20 minutes long or whatever.
But there isn't a lot of faff.
But there's not a lot of faff, is there?
There's not a lot
and
of
I like,
around.
But we've had this discussion many times that one of the few things that I find really difficult with metal is it fucking pisses about all the time with fucking solos and structure and all this sort of shit. And for being what it is, this album doesn't do any of that. It just gets on with being really fucking slow and rumbly and lovely. And it's I'm finding it really difficult to articulate exactly how I feel about this.
Oh no, yeah, it's fine.
I'd be surprised if most of the people that listen to this, from my side of the people I get to listen to it, Mum, I'd be really surprised if my mum would enjoy this album. But I would recommend it.
Yeah, recommend it anyway.
And see how she goes.
I mean, at the very least, you should definitely go listen to the acoustic version and then the full version of Marrow.
Yeah, definitely listen to the acoustic. I would say anyone who's not sure, listen to the acoustic version of Marrow and then pick up on the full version, because once you've heard the acoustic version, I think it's easier to get into because you kind of recognise it.
Yeah,
it's like listening to a punk version of like a song you already know really well.
Yeah,
and you just go, I wouldn't normally listen to this sort of thing, but the fact that they're doing "Heard It on the Grapevine" makes me really enjoy it. Me First and the Gimme Gimmes are great for that. Or is it Gimme Gimmes or Gimme Gimme Gimmes? I can't remember.
Me First and the Gimme Gimmes.
Yeah. Anyway, so I think that concludes this review.
Great.
Jingle. So just one last thing before we go. I've just remembered this while we were talking about it. Because I've been listening to the Lion King soundtrack a lot, one thing that I've noticed is, are you familiar with the song Be Prepared from the Lion King? It's the best song in the Lion King, and nobody agrees with me, but that is...
Is that the... I'm gonna...
No, that's I just can't wait to be king.
Oh.
It's the one that Scar sings when he's like dancing.
Oh, okay.
The one with all the Nazi hyenas and all that.
Yeah.
But there's a bit... So basically, it's this brilliant, great, dark camp thing of just like, I'm gonna be fucking in charge. I use it when I'm brushing my son's teeth because it's the one I know all the words to. It's my favourite Disney song, and anybody who disagrees with me is wrong about how great it is. It is really, really good. But there's a bit in that where it goes like, it's like this lovely descending little scale before it comes back down from the chorus, and it goes dun 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 da, right? And when it does that, because that's been in my head for about 2 weeks, that leads really nicely into Praise Abort by Lindemann.
Oh, nothing should ever lead nicely into Praise Abort by Lindemann.
So it goes dun 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 dun. If there's any chance that I can cut those two together, I'll put them in here.
Yeah.
It's unlikely that I'll be able to do that, but if I can, I'll do it here.
And also, everyone should just go listen to Lindemann. Anyway,
yeah, I mean, it's a fucking great tune.
It's a terrible album, but
it's not a terrible album.
It's bad good.
Well, the reason it's bad is because it's Till Lindemann singing in English.
Yeah.
And the reason Rammstein's albums are great is because you have no idea what he's fucking talking about. If you knew what he was talking about, no one would like those albums. because they're fucking horrific.
That's not true, actually. Some of them aren't that bad.
No, to be fair, I think they're a bit more
Engel,
serious.
Son. Yeah, he definitely
like,
took a more comedic writing approach for the Lindemans.
Yeah.
But still, he does talk about a lot of the same stuff.
fuck, but no French letter. Because without kids, life is so much better. But every time I put it in, a baby cries. Or sometimes twins. And it's basically, so Praise Abort is a song about how much he recommends abortion as a method of contraception.
Yeah.
And it's probably not even the most horrific song on that album, by quite some measure.
Oh, no.
To be fair, I fucking love that album. I really...
It's so good.
Have you listened to the full album yet?
Yeah.
Because I keep wanting to have a proper discussion about it.
But next time, maybe. Not this time. I'll give it another listen over. I've listened to it once, and this is, again, it's going to be another thing that I will come back to when we do my talking a little later on. There's just so much things that we've mentioned already that are going to be important later. So, and that's one of them.
Okay.
Not golden showers, just over sexuality in songs generally.
Well, so there's a lot of that with next week's chat.
Yeah.
So, let's call that to a close then. Thanks very much for joining us. Follow us at Taste Funny Pod. There might not actually be anything on there.
Also, just one subscription to Mr. Sadiq Khan.
So we follow Sadiq Khan, but if you follow us, that would be awesome.
And then you can be following us following Sadiq Khan.
Yeah, I might just start retweeting everything Sadiq Khan does.
He's a real trooper, that one.
And so that's all. And come join a Facebook group. There's nothing on there at the moment because I'm quite lazy, and I've run out of internet. So
Yay!
The internet's finished. So
we've run out of internet, and we better go back down the internet mines.
Yeah. Oh God, we've talked for far too long.
So, what brand of emotional torture do you have for me now?
Well, I mean, if you want specifically emotional torture, I've got one on here that's going to fucking ruin you, but I don't think I really want to do that. I think I'm really struggling. I've got two. I was debating whether or not to reciprocate hip-hop. Or
reciprocate.
Don't reciprocate.
Reciprocate, that was it, yeah.
That was the word.
Yeah.
So I was debating on that.
Yeah.
Or I was going to give you something completely other.
Okay.
What would you prefer? I'm going to give you a slight choice on this.
No.
Oh, really?
Just decide.
Okay, I'm going to just literally go. I'm going to give you... Apparently, I am giving you... The Stranglers, No More Heroes.
Right.
Not familiar with that album, are you?
I mean, I'm familiar with the song.
The song, not the album.
No.
Okay. Well,
cool.
then.
I guess I get so I'm listening to classic punk for a month?
Yeah. You kind of get essentially get a free pass, but it also
sign
means
me up, Sally. Yeah, no, I mean,
this is the thing.
Are you sure you want me to do this? Are you sure you want me to review a classic punk album?
I feel like we could do that. I feel like that would be fun.
No more heroes anymore.
Well, this is the thing. So you've said classic punk album.
Yeah.
I think you will find it's not quite that.
It's an oi album.
It's not.
Is it not?
No. The Stranglers are very. There's a virtuosity to them that punk doesn't tend to have.
Okay.
And I think you'll be startled perhaps by them. But I think rather than wax lyrical now, I think we'll talk about it at a later stage.
All right, cool.
So awesome. We'll talk about that in a month's time or whenever. Thanks very much for listening, everyone. And we'll speak to you again soon.
Bye.
Cheers. Bye.
Today's Funny Podcast was presented and devised by Peter McHugh and Joe McLachlan. Music was by The X-Towels.